Hi there, it's me, Mo, and welcome to a Moo Dill video. If you don't recognize me, I am Dylan's new mascot. So, all I have to say is enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe when the video's over, and enjoy the video. Today's episode is gonna be about clones, and actually you can just read the thumbnail. Why, thank you, Mo. Well, while I'm working on this example for all of you guys, I am going to just give a shout out to this guy for giving me the idea of getting a much better microphone. So thank you for the sarcastic comment, because I took it seriously and now I have a new mic. So now you can't make a sarcastic reply about my mic anymore. Anyways, I'm pretty sure this is time lapse is about to end, so I gotta go. Hey guys, welcome back to another Moo Dill video. I just finished up making this example project for this video, and today I'm just gonna show you it, and we're gonna make this even better. So right now, the game is simply you're a blue square running away from this red square. This red square always follows you and uses a simple point towards player, move a couple steps. And also the player script is very standard. But what we're here today is to make not just more enemies, but different kinds of enemies. That is what we're doing today. So enjoy the video. So currently there's only one enemy. And if you're pretty new to Scratch, you probably know that you can duplicate sprites, which is a way you can do this. The problem is that if you want more enemies, you're gonna have to keep making copies over and over again. And that's just annoying. So, if you know anything or have played around with Scratch, you've noticed in Control these weird 3 blocks down here. That is when I start as clone, create clone of myself, and delete this clone. Now, what's a clone in Scratch, you may ask? You may know cloning as basically making a copy. So, if we make a clone, we're making a copy. Now, the copy, usually when you make just a normal copy in Scratch, which is using this block, create clone of myself, which also has a drop down to make a clone of any other sprite. But here we're just gonna do it for myself, which is usually the most common way it is done. So we're gonna simply just click on it, and in the stage it looks like nothing changed. But if we just drag this, you can see it made the copy. The reason it didn't look different was it was on top of the original, and also because it copied everything about it, which was its costume and its position. That's a very important detail, which can really be helpful sometimes fixing bugs. There will be an example of that later in the video. Also, side note, when you click the green flag, all clones are deleted. So, let's see, how are we going to make this enemy work as a clone? Well, if we take this, which looks like an event block, but it's not really an event block, we can simply take this code and put it in here, which this may seem weird. But in Scratch, we have something that we call clone factories. So the sprite makes clones of itself. The clones do all the working, while the factory just makes the clones and gives them the costumes and sounds. So what we can do here is we can have it at the beginning so that we don't see our clone factory. We can just simply hide it. And then we can do a repeat and repeat. Let's do 3 times to make 3 enemies, and then create clone of myself. This will repeat this 3 times, making 3 copies. And then the copies will run this code only for themselves, not for any of the other codes, not for the sprites, just for themselves. So, if we do this, now we have 3 enemies. But, where is those 3 enemies? Well, if you remember, now copying, whenever you copy something, it's copying everything. And in this case, it's also copying that it's hidden. So, instead, we can just have it show itself. That will fix the bug, so we can actually see our beautiful 3 little guys chasing after us. Pretty cool, huh? But now here's another thing we want to do. These are pretty boring, and I want to have other ones. So I just want the normal ones just like this, but I also want ones that go fast and some that are really big so I can bump into them by accident. So how do I get these in with only this one line? Here's the answer. Variables. That may sound really weird, and you'd be wondering, am I right in my head? But because there's only 2 checks when making a variable, for all sprites and for this sprite only. Nothing about clones. But here's the catch. For this sprite only. So if I hit this, and I'll just name my sprite variable ID, then I can simply set it ID to 0, and before I make a clone, change ID by 1. If you remember, it copies everything about it, which means if a sprite has a variable that is for this sprite only, it copies that sprite and the value it copies the variable and the value that was in it. So if that sounds really bizarre and you can't understand, let me give some visual aid. Okay, here I have my 3 guys right here. Let's say they're not created yet, and we have ID currently equals 0. So if you remember the code, the first thing it does in the loop is it changes it to 1. And what it does is when the copy, it copies first this guy knows ID, so that becomes one of its own variables for itself, not for any other clones, not for any sprites. And then it takes the 1 and the value that was in the variable and copies it too. So now it has its own ID as 1, but then it changes it again as the loop goes back around, and now the second guy takes ID, except now it's his own variable now. Just like how you can have your own variables for your own sprites and not for any other sprite. And then this 2 is put in. So they're both at the same time named the same variable, but they have different values in it because actually they're treated as different variables in different clones. And the same is done for 3. It's changed from 1. So it's changed from 2 to 3. That 3 goes in there. That's just a simple breakdown of the basic concept of how this works. So let's put this back in, and instead we'll assign each number its own kind of character. Let's say 1 is just normal, 2 is speedy, and 3 is giant. We could do that right now. Okay, so back in here, we're gonna do something and create 3 custom blocks, because for now, first we need to check what it is, and also to keep this nice, tidy, and organized, we're gonna make a custom block. If you're not sure what custom blocks are, I've made a video about it. It should pop up on the screen. You can just click on that and learn about custom blocks. If you don't want to click on it now, you can click it on later on. But this is just gonna create a custom block. So we're gonna create 3 custom blocks for each kind of enemy. First, we're just gonna have normal. In this case, I'm not gonna hit run without screen refresh because there's a bug in Scratch where if you have a loop, a forever loop, or a repeat until loop, it will lag out like crazy if you put in a custom block that has do not run without screen refresh on. So we'll take normal, we'll also take speed, and we'll take giant. And now we're gonna move the code into these 3 head things so that you can use them. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna just tweak it for what we want. Something So we are going to have it so each one is given its own costume. This is very, very important. So normal gets normal, speed gets speed, giant gets giant. We're also going to change the speed. So normal is normal speed, speed is speedy. So we're going to give him a bit more speed. And giant's really big, so we're going to make him slower. So he's more like a roadblock than he is chasing you. And so now we can just do some code with some if statements to get this to work. So we can just take two if-else statements, put one inside the other with this if-else going in the else. And then we can check if the clone ID is 1, then it is normal. And then this will run the code in here and keep that forever loop going. If, let's say, instead it is equal to 2, then it's going to be speedy. And if it's neither of those, it's giant. You can also change it so you can use greater than and less than if you want multiple of the same ones. It's all about logic and getting that logic to work. So now we should see 3 enemies of different kinds. We have to run away from. Speed, you can see he's going a lot faster than the others. Giant, he's going slower, but you can see he's a lot bigger. And then normal is doing what he was doing earlier and just going at a steady pace. And it uses these concepts to code anything just like this with clones and stuff. It is honestly a very useful thing to know, especially if you have a game with tons of different enemies or any of that stuff. Anyways, that's all for me. If you've made it to the end of the video, congratulations. And hope you have enjoyed the video. That's all for me, so bye.